All right, this is Mr. McMurray. Welcome to Friday morning. All right, and we are going to do the changes in matter worksheet. Okay, and we know there are two types of changes. There are physical changes and there are chemical changes. Some of the physical changes are things like changing the temperature, the size, the number of pieces, like you rip a piece of paper up, or if you change from one physical state to another, or phase. In other words, for example, if something goes from a solid to a liquid and melts, if it evaporates, goes from a liquid to a gas, all of those are examples of physical changes. Okay, boiling, burning, no, not burning, sorry, melting, evaporating, condensing, all those sort of things, phase changes would be there, freezing, all those. All right, chemical changes, on the other hand, is there's always a different chemical that was not there before. So you have different chemicals than you did originally, okay? And so examples of chemical changes might be rusting of a piece of iron, or if you burn a piece of paper or wood or something like that, okay? Very often, if you see that, you will see a gas given off, smoke or bubbles, gas coming off, things like that. If it heats up, there's heat involved, that's energy, so that very often we burn something, whatever. If there's a color change, and so it possibly may mean there's a new chemical that wasn't there before that has a new color. Sometimes if you mix two liquids, and there'll be like a solid that forms in the liquid and sinks down to the bottom, that's called a precipitate, is the fancy word for that, but it just means a solid that forms in the liquid and it settles out. That's obviously a different chemical if you had two liquids before. Okay, so all of those things are chemical changes or chemical reactions. Okay, we only call them chemical changes when we talk about physical versus chemical changes, but most of the time we just talk about chemical reactions. But a chemical reaction and a chemical change are the same thing. Now, since a chemical change makes new compounds, they will also have new physical properties. Okay. Size, color, shape, and things may also change because they're different chemicals. So obviously some of those physical are changed, but only if there's a new chemical that wasn't there before is it considered a chemical change. All right. So sometimes it's still kind of hard to tell. It's kind of difficult, but we would like for you to talk about that. To look at these examples and tell me if they are physical and chemical changes. All right. So first we'll do the picture ones, and then I will let you do these other ones on your own. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. Glass falls off the edge of the table, shatters into little pieces. Okay, is it physical or chemical? Well, are there any new chemicals formed? And basically, no. You still have glass, you still have the table, you still have the floor. So you have small pieces of glass, but basically that is going to be a physical change. Now, if it's a physical change, you're supposed to tell me what has been changed, what physical properties. So I'm going to say this is a physical change, and it has changed the shape and size of the glass. Okay? All right. So keep it on the lines there. All right. So I would put that. Okay, for example. Now, on this one, we're basically talking about her hair drying. She washed it and it's wet. You can see it dripping off. Now it dries and it becomes more curly and stuff after it dries. Question is it a physical or chemical change? Obviously, the hair has changed. It was long and stringy and wet. Now it's all curled and whatever. Possibly she'd curl it with a curling iron. That's not going to change the answer. The question is, are there any new chemicals present that were not there before? And correct answer is no. Okay, it's still her hair. It just dried off, which means the water evaporated. Okay, but it's still basically its hair. Even if she sprayed hairspray on her hair, it's still the same chemical the hairspray was when it was in the can. So there's no new chemicals. Not like the hairspray reacts with her hair and makes a new chemical. Hopefully not. Anyhow, that would be bad. Okay, but anyhow, some of us don't have to worry about bad reactions with our hair, but for people that have hair, that would be a problem. Okay. So anyhow, so this would be a physical change, and basically we would just say that the water evaporated or her hair dried off, okay? And so basically it's still the same. She may have actually curled it or something, which means she heated it up, but once again, it did not change it into new chemicals. It's still her same chemicals that were in her hair before. Okay, now this one, it's a little hard to tell, so that's why we're going to go over it. If this was just getting dirty, for example, then it would be a physical change. However, this is rusty. So we're going to say you had a brand new bike, it stayed outside in the rain, and it got all rusty. This would be like my bicycle at home because I get tired of having to take it out of the backyard all the time, so I just leave it in the front yard under a tree, and yes, when it rains, it gets a little rusty, but it still works just fine. And so I'm good with that. All right, so if it gets rusty, is there a new chemical that was not there before? Yes. Okay, the rust was not there. The metal was there. Oxygen was in the air, but when you get it wet and whatever, then it reacts and it makes a new chemical, the rust, which was not there before. So this is a chemical change. And if it's a new chemical, we have to tell what the new chemicals are. Okay, and so in this case, rust would be the new chemical that was not there before. But for some reason, it didn't type in there. Let me try that again. All right, rust. So you put rust because that's the new chemical that is there. All right, we're going to go down here. We have an ice cube, and it's getting warm, and it's starting to melt. And eventually, it's all melted in one big puddle. All right, even if some of this evaporated, it would still be H2O. It did not change the chemical at all, so this would be a physical change. And basically, it just went from a solid to a liquid, or you could say it melted. Okay, whatever. That's basically the chemical reaction. But it's still water, whether it's solid water, liquid water, or gas water, or vapor water, as water vapor. All right. Now, the last one we have here is the log. All right, the log is being burned like in a fire, and we end up with ashes at the end. Are there different chemicals present? Yes, there are. There were smoke and things coming off, water vapor, lots of other stuff coming off. There is ashes and minerals left behind that didn't burn. And so this would definitely be a chemical. Oops, let me try that again. Okay, this would be a chemical change. And new chemicals would be the ashes, smoke, water vapor, all these things that came off of it, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and so forth. Okay. But yeah, all those things are the new chemicals that are given off when you burn the log. All right, so that's what I'd like for you to do. Now for the rest of them, just check physical or chemical. And then if it's physical, tell me what changed, like size, shape, whatever. If it is, or change from a solid to a liquid, liquid to a solid, or whatever. If it's chemical, tell me what the new chemicals are that were not present before. All right, and when you're done with that, then you may submit it and have a good time, enjoy it. And we'll see you next week.